So, like, I know at work, what can be a lot of problems for people is problems with coworkers, right? One of the big problems I heard about is just the sound of their coworker eating. That just kills them, or just little things that make you angry about the other person. So, what are solutions to getting through those kind of problems?
The first and most important skill that they and everybody needs to have is the ability to observe their internal processes at work. What are these internal processes? The internal processes are one's own emotions, one's own assumptions, one's own beliefs, one's own desires, one's own fears, one's own aversions, one's own internal physical states, emotions, and actions. And then also the physical world out there. When someone develops the ability to look at all these things, they can catch anger while it's developing and make a decision as to whether to entertain it or not, to see whether it benefits you and your ability to get a greater income, to give vent to this anger. And when you realize that there's no point doing that, you're able to switch it off. But you're able to switch it off only because you're able to catch it before it takes you over. So the ability to be able to prevent states of emotions, beliefs or assumptions that are likely to interfere with your ability to perform well at work is an extremely valuable ability.
And this was the ability we were talking earlier about, like, having time to yourself to watch these processes arising when they're not in the thick of it. Like, when you're really angry at your coworker, that's probably not the time to start. I mean, it might be helpful time, but when you're by yourself and it's silent and you're relaxed, then you can see process coming and observe assumptions, beliefs, emotions, fears, desires, anger.
Exactly. The reason it is a useful thing to develop the habit on your own time, either early in the morning or late at night before going to bed, is that you are cultivating the habit. Let's take a couple of steps back. This is a very important point, and we need to go into it with a greater depth. Because we are all believing that we are our human bodies, we are used to focusing on the physical world, and we consider all the other stuff being ourself. My feelings, my thoughts, my beliefs. I don't look at them. I take them for granted. This is me. So to break out of that, one has to change one's attitude of who oneself is. If one changes one's identity from being the body to being the part of yourself that is experiencing your whole life and anything that happens in it, then you're able to consider feelings and emotions and beliefs and knowledge and assumptions and desires and aspirations and all that as objects that you can observe along with the objects of your colleagues and your rooms and your chairs and all the other things in the environment. So without this ability to shift your identity from being the body to being the observer of whatever can be observed, you're not going to be in a good position to be able to focus on these internal processes that can interfere at work and make you dysfunctional through a loss of temper or through the wrong interpretation or through the entertainment of a desire which should have no place in the workplace. But you cannot begin to control these things unless you're able to see them. And you're not begin to be able to see them unless you're in the habit of focusing on them. And you're not going to be able to focus on them unless you're able to shift your identity to a position from which you can focus on them.